Disney's upcoming film slate couldn't be more disastrous. They have a string of what are going to be, well, tremendous flops on their hands, and one of the ones that is probably most egregious on a IP that you're trying to lift up in a world where everybody thinks it's sinking to the bottom of the ocean. You're about to release the most expensive per minute Marvel film that you've ever done, and it's going to flop. And it's going to be such a disaster. I don't know how you could want to stagger on. But fortunately, today I have a couple of folks that are going to help me out with this commentary, and we'll get to the bottom of it. So, first and foremost, gentlemen, welcome. I appreciate you guys being here. We have GrahamCast right here, and of course, Jason from Sci-Fi for Me TV. And I will say, well, what do you think? Are you excited for Captain America: Brave New World?
I think you're
Yes.
floating that gentleman word a little cavalierly.
That's true. That's probably true. I have to say I would have appreciated had you buttoned up your shirt, but both of you have your shirts undone, so it's fine.
This is a flannel. Get it right. And
It's
yes,
fine.
gentleman is a term we use very loosely around here.
It's true. It's true. But no. And by the way, for those of you who are not familiar with either of these gentlemen, do check down in the description below and subscribe to their channels because they are fun people. Oftentimes they make ridiculous statements, and that's always amusing too. But I take it neither of you are looking forward to Captain America: Brave New World.
I am. I'm very excited for Captain America: Brave New World. Yes. So I've thought long and hard about the fact that Marvel, for the better part of a decade, essentially discovered what some would say an alchemical formula to print money. And it is to make Marvel movies how they did through the first 3 phases of the MCU. And then they bungled everything to the point where they thought, hey, we're going to branch out and we're going to change the game. And then they started making a bunch of movies like the Marvels that just absolutely flopped and are terrible. Now, if they are not starting to recognize it, I would be flabbergasted. So I feel like Captain America: Brave New World is going to be one of the movies where they try something to really do a reset. I feel like a major character might get killed off. They might do something to retcon the last phase or 2 of the MCU. Something big has to happen, because if they don't make something really big happen in this movie, the MCU, everybody's going to go into the level of apathy where they can release Captain America movies and they can release this movie, that movie, and the excitement level is going to be 0. That's almost worse than hating on it when people just don't care. So I'm excited to see what they do. And if they don't do anything like that, then I'm excited for the fallout.
Okay, well, I might change your mind with this article we're about to cover. Jason, where are you at with the MCU?
I'm not excited about it. I'm curious, but I think to Graham's point, I think he's on to something there. With Marvel has a chance to prove that they've learned a lesson here, but I don't think they're learning the correct lesson. I think Captain Marvel: New World Order is going to be the rise of Skywalker for Marvel. I think it's going to be one of these, oh crap, we have to fix everything. And they're going to do this hodgepodge patchwork, fill in this hole, cover this up, and try to do it all in one movie. And it's going to ruin everything because they're not going to be able we're going to be everything to everybody in all things. And they're going to completely blow it. I mean, everything that we've heard so far about reshoots after reshoots after reshoots after reshoots. I mean, they've shot enough footage probably for 4 films at this point. So I don't have a whole lot of confidence that they're going to deliver a solid film that tells a good story, that respects the audience and treats the characters and the actors in the film very well. But they could surprise me. I mean, weirder things have happened, but I don't anticipate that this is going to be successful.
Well,
it's also possible that this could be like my early dating career, just like you said, fill in this hole, fill in this hole, fill in this hole. So who knows what's going to happen?
Well, to add to both of your conundrums, gentlemen, let's take a look at this article from our friends over at That Park Place, where I happen to write from time to time. Captain America: Brave New World, yes, they did change the name. Runtime shows that it's the shortest yet most expensive Captain America movie to date. It's running 118 minutes, which for those of you who don't realize is an hour 58, if I'm correct. And troubled film costs nearly $3 million per minute, and it's costs actually more than that, $3.17 million per minute if you're doing the math. And if you look at what it really likely cost, which is a bigger number that we're going to cover in this article, it's way more. This might be the most expensive flop Disney has made, and that's saying something if you look at Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery. So we're going to scroll down through the article. Marvin did a great job here. Marvel Studios is gearing up for the release of Captain America: Brave New World, but early revelations about its runtime and budget are raising eyebrows across the industry. More than that, they're raising memes. Hallelujah. So Anthony Mackie is going to lead us through this 1 hour and 18-minute long film, and that will be the shortest Captain America movie to date, yet its budget has reportedly ballooned beyond $350 million. Yeah, it's closer to, 375, which means that it costs a jaw-dropping $2.9 million per minute. I disagree. Like I said, $3.17 million is, I think, is the correct number. But the $350 million figure is a low-end projection, with some outlets believing that it runs as high as $375, which is the number that I've been hearing bandied about most often. That high-end figure would put the per minute cost of the film at $3.1 million. Again, it's slightly higher than that, but that's a different conversation. For context, Brave New World up against its predecessors in both length and cost per minute. And I think by the time we get budget in there, it's going to be way more than that, don't you think? We get it up to about $425 after marketing at the minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
are these comparative numbers we're about to look at? Are they adjusted for inflation and the time period and where those movies were made?
I believe these are not adjusted for inflation. Feel free to do that for us. But Captain America: First Avenger, 124 minutes long with a $140 million budget. And you know that now that I think about it, I think the 2.9 million is correct for 350, and I think the 3.1 is correct for 375. But I did my estimations based on 425, which is an entirely different number. So we'll set
If I recall correctly, this movie had up to 3 rounds of reshoots where it's like, okay, hey, they go and they do some reshoots. We think they're finally out of the woods, and then we hear more reshoots, more delays. Out of curiosity, what is the budget versus how much was spent on getting everybody back together and doing those reshoots? How much did that contribute to the overall cost?
They were aiming for 210 to 240, 250 million-ish on budget or total expenditure for the film. So they are $100 million beyond. They also reshot this film in its entirety at least once. So they shot the film, then they reshot act 1, 2, and 3. Just, the 3 parts. They just shot three parts of the movie: the first act, second act, third act. Then they came back and did more reshoots. They added in characters. Then they came back and did more reshoots, moving some characters to more important positions. And then they came back again, removed characters entirely. And
every round of reshoots comes as a result of test screenings with audiences sitting there saying, well, we don't like it.
Yeah.
We don't like it. We don't like it. This is garbage. This is hot mess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and even after the most recent set of reshoots, just to add just slightly more context, and then I'll let you go, Graham. But after that reshoot, the most recent one, which is, believe it or not, was December. They still, it's still not right. It's still going to have massive holes. So just consider that they were not able to fix it in the LA reshoots.
Yeah, they've removed entire plot lines that were originally a part of this thing. Early on we were hearing, oh, it's going to have this and going to have that, and all of it's gone, and we've got an entirely different film with a completely different plot at this point. I think
Disney and Marvel spent $100 million on reshoots because they couldn't put together a good movie. That's so much money. You know what they need? They need what I'm going to dub as the Dome Department. They need the Department of Marvel Efficiency immediately. Because $100 million to still just turn out. Now, if they were smart, what they would do, and hear me out on this, they should take all of the scrapped pieces, the original vision for this movie that they shot in its completion, and they should release that as its own separate cut after the fact and just kind of sneak it in and be like, hey, this is
It's the
actually what we did.
YouTube A/B test.
Exactly.
Oh,
So
wow.
if they were to do that, they could get 2 movies for the price of 2 movies because they spent more than enough for 2
They
movies.
spent more
Not
than
just
2
not,
movies.
not just that. If you consider $100 million, consider that. That's 10 Godzilla minus ones.
It is. It is. Yeah, I think that's I think Gary was correct when he said that should be the benchmark for how many films can you get that aren't Marvel
Mhm.
out of a
Yeah.
Godzilla. But anyway,
Now
so Captain America: First Avenger only 124 minutes long, just over 2 hours, which is cool. $140 million budget, 1.1 million per minute, pretty cheap, pretty cheap. Of course, back then there's a significant difference between what money was and what it is now because of inflation. But we somebody will figure that out in the audience, I'm sure. But 136 minutes on the Winter Soldier, plenty long. In fact, maybe even too long.
too long.
170 million, 1.2 million, not bad. That came 3 years later, perfect timing. One of the best Marvel movies made. And then Captain America: Civil War. I mean War. To 2016, 148 minutes. Oh my gosh, take a nap somewhere in there. $250 million budget, or 1.6 million per minute. So it's not a lie to
Now,
say this is terribly expensive.
the thing is with Civil War, I think we need to take into account the fact that there were so many actors,
Oh yeah,
like top shelf A lists,
Mhm.
yeah. Marvel contracted
all
actors. Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So that's going to contribute to that expense too. If they did Civil War with just Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., you wouldn't be looking at $250 million for that movie.
No, probably not now. But if you have Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, and many others, as they did in Civil
Now
War,
you do. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to say it would be really expensive. But Brave New World was plagued with reports of numerous rewrites and reshoots. Yeah, we should probably talk about just the number of rewrites it had, and the fact that they were shot without a script, according to Anthony Mackie himself at certain points, and many other things. You don't think that's a problem in just shooting film, despite the fact that you don't have a script? A script? I mean,
Well, I think, but in comparison, you look at what James Gunn is doing over at DC, where he's actually flat out come out and said, "We are not going to green light anything, not just shoot. We're not even going to green light
without a
anything
script.
until we have a complete script that everybody's happy with."
Yeah, that
Mhm.
I think they learned that lesson, especially since they were embarrassed by the fact that it came out. And Marvel says the thing that I think is the dirty little secret. This film could approach 500 million with marketing and
Mm.
after all of the reshoots, because we do not even know what the significance of the reshoots in LA were, in Hollywood, I should say, in December. We don't know the significance of the reshoots before that. We do know there were multiple days. And again, pickups and reshoots are you expect a certain number of pickups. You expect people to come back, do some, some fill in, right? Especially for continuity, stuff like that, things you missed or didn't look right because of the lighting, whatever. But what you should not do is come back and reshoot significant portions of the film, but that's what happened on this one. So if the film does not make over $1 billion, it will not make profit. That's almost inarguable at this point. I mean, if you
Mhm.
look at it, if we get to that minimum of 425 expenditure, 850 million is not going to cut it. That's just if you take the budget and double it, it's not going to cut. It's not going to cut it. You can't even cover the budget. When you get to the marketing, they're going to dump a lot of money into marketing, a minimum of 80 million, I would say, if not over that,
Ye-
because oftentimes in cinema, and I think, Jason, you're probably going to say this and correct me if I'm wrong, but they spend almost as much in marketing as they do in making the film, at least
Yeah,
normally. So,
yeah. You can almost figure, well, depending on the film, but most of the time, if you've got a lot riding on it, especially, you could be looking at a marketing budget of anywhere from 80 to 100% of what you've spent actually
Mhm.
making the film.
yeah.
Maybe more, just depending on what kind of things you do. So now you could have. I don't think it's going to have anything on this one, but you could have the cross promotional items like Captain America on the Doritos bag and stuff like that. But
Companion
yeah,
marketing. Yeah.
companion marketing. I don't know how much that would mitigate the costs of marketing this thing. And if you time it wrong, you have what happened with Wonder Woman 84, where all of this Wonder Woman stuff comes out, hits the shelves, and the
Yeah.
movie's not out yet because the movie had to get delayed because of
Whatever.
pandemic and everything else.
Mhm.
And now you've got all these cereals and chips and whatnot that's got Gal Gadot all over it, and you got no movie to go see. So
Well, and likely most people, because that was during the time of Project Popcorn, they watched it at home on streaming from
mhm,
what at the time, what was that called? HBO Max.
HBO Max,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So there's that. But look, if you use the normal calculation that I've been using for a long time, a film is its cost plus its marketing, and that all is about you multiply the number that they said it cost by 2.8, and that's the ballpark. That's where you're looking for it to just break even.
Yeah.
And for this film, that isn't going to be true because they're going to have to spend an enormous amount of money on marketing because there is zero hype for it. But we've gone a bit long. I wanted to get to this idea that there's no way this thing is going to make money. You have to be in that $1 billion range before you could even sniff a profit. So, and there is no buzz for this. They're looking at a soft open, and this is the number I wanted to round out with you gentlemen. They're looking for a soft opening weekend with a maximum haul of $96 million.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
oof.
Minimum's 80, 86, I think. Yeah, it's not gonna this is not gonna be a $1 billion movie.
No, in fact, I think it could hope for 82 million. I don't know what do you think, Graham? I mean, this you're excited about this movie. I don't see how, but I'm glad for you. I can't wait to hear your report on it. But
Well,
what do you think
you
of
say
this?
I'm being excited about this movie. It's the same level of excitement that you have when you get to go like see a car crash, and nobody's hurt. Of course, nobody's hurt. Yeah, it's not going to be well received critically. It's not going to be well received from fans. I personally think, and this is conspiracy theory Graham coming here, I think Harrison Ford is going to all of his old film franchises and he's just going in to see how much of a mess he can make of stuff. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to see if I could ruin this for what it is. Think about this: if this movie is as poor performing as we anticipate, Harrison Ford very well could be the star of two of Disney's biggest, most massive flops of all time in this and Indiana Jones. And that is saying something. So you
What?
can't
Oh,
look away.
okay, Graham. Let me build on that for a second. What if Harrison Ford has decided to have revenge on Kathleen Kennedy for destroying George Lucas's legacy?
Yeah, that would be great. It's a good
I'll
man.
get you, Kathleen.
Well, you have to remember he tried to die in Empire, right? He wanted
Yeah,
to be at
yeah.
the end of
I mean,
Empire, and that wasn't in
yeah.
the cards for him. And then, of course, he wanted to die at the end of Jedi, and he didn't get that either.
I think his
Um,
motivation now though was different back then because back then Empire Strikes Back he said Han Solo's done. There's nothing left for him story wise to do. Now after all of this time, I think he wanted Han Solo to die so he could get out of doing any more Star Wars.
Mhm.
well, I'll tell you
His
what.
motivation for killing the character is completely different.
Hey, after watching that first film, I don't blame him.
I don't either.
He,
I don't
Anyway,
either.
I'm
he
gonna
wanted
say
Han Solo to die so he could then kill Indiana Jones, and now he could kill the MCU. He's just on a murderous rampage
he
right now,
is.
isn't
Yeah,
he?
He's
is right.
slaying
Yeah.
everything.
It's all
Yeah.
Harrison Ford's fault.
What else is out there that he could kill? The Blade Runner.
They could revisit Witness.
Witness that could be dead.
Well, see, Blade Runner was pretty good. I enjoyed the sequel. I thought Blade Runner
Oh
2049 was
no,
pretty good.
yeah, I agree with you. I don't
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I just think it'd be funny if he came back and ruined it. It'd be amazing. Anyway, look, I want to round this out, and I want to do it this way. And ask the audience a question that if you guys feel like answering, you can as well. Do you think this film is got a prayer of breaking even? Do you think it's going to make a profit? Do you think that this film is actually going to be good? Do you think it'll be like the Marvel of old, or just a revisitation of the rotting corpse that was a shallow grave that is the Marvel IP right now? So, guys, your thoughts?
Shallowest of graves.
I think there is a very slim chance that all of the reshoots finally fix as much as it can fix, but at the same time, this is not a film that's going to play very well internationally either, because I mean, I hate to say it, your lead character is not somebody that's going to play in certain markets.
True.
And that's going to affect the marketing as well. You're not going to be able to put Anthony Mackie on there. They're going to do to him what they did to John Boyega.
Yes.
And that's going to have an impact as well. This thing is a flop right out of the gate.
Yeah. And for those of you that think Jason's being too optimistic, let us know that too. All right, down in the comments below, we want to know your thoughts. Share them with us. Also, double check you're still subscribed to the channel, because guess what? You may be unsubscribed and made your way over here by accident. And thank you for doing that. Or if this is your first time or your 1000th, double check you're subscribed. Subscriptions are really important to me. I want to know what you think. Comments are really important to me also. Plus, if you hit that thumbs up button, good chance you'll come back for the next the next video, and I'll appreciate that as well. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.